Friends remains one of the most beloved TV sitcoms of all time, which is made all the more impressive by the fact that it's the only show from over a decade ago that everyone still seems to be watching on a constant, almost mind-numbing loop. Oh, syndication, how I love thee. But as with all shows that end up running for the length of 10 seasons, continuity issues begin to arise when you start to incorporate flashback episodes, references to characters past, or one-off jokes that seem hilarious at the time, but actually create glaring issues in the series timeline. Sure, it's presumably somebody's job to check this stuff, but you can't read 100 scripts before shooting every episode, can you? Therefore, let's get all nitpicky and anal and suck the fun out of this wonderful show. With this in mind, I'm Jules of WhatCulture.com, and here are 15 annoying mistakes that you never noticed in Friends. P.S. You're welcome. Number 15. Monica's apartment changes numbers. Did Monica's apartment fall through a vortex and wind up in another dimension or something? No, the writers just realised that it actually made no sense that the number 5 would denote an apartment on an upper level floor in a huge block, and so switched it around for 20 instead. All without telling us. And as a result, Chandler's apartment also made the shift from 4 to 19. Nothing wrong with this, of course, given the logic behind the change, though it probably proved to be something of a nightmare for New York postal workers. Number 14. Ross is 29 years old, for 3 years, and has had 2 birthdays. It seems there must be something in the New York air that causes the clearly best member of Friends, Ross, to enter an ageless stasis, given the fact that he doesn't age for an entire 3 seasons of the show and also seems to have 2 birthdays. He mentions that he's 29 years old in seasons 3, 4, and 5, despite the fact we've seen 3 individual Christmas and Thanksgiving episodes over this period. He also mentions on 2 separate occasions that he was born in December, and then later that it's actually October the 18th. Ross is truly an enigma. Number 13. And don't forget about his blurred sexual history. Ross is boss. Let's just agree he's a tip-top Jaffa cake of oddity and elusive backstories. One of the main plots throughout the early seasons of Friends concerns the fact that Ross has only ever slept with one woman, his first ex-wife, Carol. And that's not something that you're going to lie about, is it? I mean, what would be the point? Cut to season 7 though, and it's revealed that Ross apparently slept with a cleaning lady whilst he was in college, which means that Ross is purposely making up the fact that he only slept with one woman. Why would you do that, Ross? Why would you do that, Ross? Number 12. Chandler can't cry? Not according to Phoebe. The plot of episode, the one where Chandler can't cry, concerns the fact that Chandler can't cry ever since he was a child because he has no emotions, and that everyone now has to make him cry for the sum of the episode. Yet in Series 3, a brief story is recounted about a time where Phoebe made Chandler cry like a baby, which sort of ruins the later plot, doesn't it? I mean, not really, but sort of really. A lot. Number 11. Barry who? Remember that guy that Rachel was going to marry in the pilot? No, not Ross, you know, the dentist. Barry Farber? Or at least that was what he was known as in pretty much every single episode, except for the first, where he has an entirely different surname, Finkel. How and why did this happen? Did Barry go into the witness protection program? Why doesn't Rachel notice the name switcheroo? Why is it changed anyway? Too many questions, not enough Ross. Number 10. Phoebe's dad left before she was born. Except he didn't. Everyone knows that Phoebe has had a rough upbringing because Phoebe never fails to mention something at least once per episode that's weird or depressing or disturbing that happened to her when she was a kid. But let's take all that business with her father, who she constantly claims ran out on her before she was born, and yet when Frank actually turns up in a later episode, he mentions that he was around when she was a kid, and even sung her songs at bedtime. So you know what? Stop crying about your bad childhood and go get your memories fixed. Number 9. Chandler and Rachel have met way too many times before the pilot to not recognise one another. As if to prove that extended contact with Ross affects your brain, both Chandler and Rachel have met numerous times and yet seem to have no recollection of these events. In flashback episodes, the pair meet one another for the first time on 4 separate occasions. Once in the pilot, once in an episode that predates the pilot, once in season 5 during a college trip, and believe it or not, once during a season 10 flashback where they make out with one another at a party. Now go back to their first meeting and you're saying that they don't recognise each other? Shame on you, television, you played us for a fool. Number 8. Carol was pregnant for a really, really long time. Don't worry, I'm not done with listing weird Ross-related errors, given that he's just the best. He kind of reminds me of King Ross, but not in the way that he actually looks like him or acts like him, but just has the same name. Anyway, in the pilot, the gang are talking about Carol's lesbianism as though they've recently found out about it. But then in season 3, during a flashback in the episode creatively titled The One with the Flashback, which is set 1 year before the pilot, Carol tells Ross that she is a lesbian. Which makes no sense at all, given that Ben, Ross's son, is born at the end of the first season. I mean, how would it be possible for Carol to be pregnant for so long? Ross, what have you done to her? Number 7. There was no real need to break that foosball table. Remember in the last one where Chandler and Joey are forced to break open their precious foosball table in order to free Chick Jr. and Duck Jr.? It was sad, wasn't it? Well, it would have been, I guess, had the writers not created this moment purely as a way to manipulate your feelings at the expense of continuity. How were they supposed to free their little friends, you ask? Breaking it open was the only way, wasn't it? Well, no, not according to the one with the embryos, in which Chandler and Joey, moving their stuff into Monica and Rachel's apartment, are able to move the foosball table easily by separating it into 2 parts. Number 6. Monica and Chandler were supposed to call their kid Joey. People always change their minds when it comes to naming their kids, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I, for example, was originally going to be named after the place where I was conceived, but Uncle Jack's pool table doesn't have the same ring as Jules. Anyway, you should probably keep your word if you promise to name your baby after a dear friend of yours. Conveniently though, this is television, so stuff like agreeing to call your child Joey can be forgotten as easily as, say, Ross's age. In the end, of course, Monica and Chandler settle on Jack after Monica's dad, but in the one with the blind dates, they told Joey that honour would go to him, which is just sad. Number 5. Chandler wants a gym membership that he already has and doesn't use. In the one in Vegas, which, yes, you guessed it, takes place in Vegas, Chandler mentions that should he win $5,000 gambling, that he used the money to join a gym and build up his upper body strength. Now, there's nothing wrong with just saying that you want to stay fit, except for the fact that Chandler, and Ross for that matter, already have gym memberships, that they seldom use but don't have the guts to quit prior to this instance. Number 4. Rachel doesn't know how to spell her own surname. You'd think it'd be simple enough to pick one spelling and stick with it, given that Rachel's surname is about as simple as they come. But for some reason, though, nobody was capable of committing to a singular spelling on Friends, which resulted in poor old Rachel looking like she didn't know how to spell her own name. It's spelt Green in the credits, but the sign on Rachel's door in Bloomingdale's, it's Greene. On Emma's first birthday, though, it's spelt Green on a cake box. Maybe it's all that time with ROSS, which has totally muddled her brain. Number 3. Ross doesn't like ice cream, but he eats it anyway. Oh, look, another inconsistent Ross personality trait to add to our ever-expanding collection. According to the man himself in the one where Chandler doesn't like dogs, Ross mentions the fact that he doesn't like ice cream because it's too cold. Okay, fair enough, nothing wrong with that. Still, when Ross starts going out with Elizabeth, he can be seen eating ice cream, which either means that A, somebody forgot that Ross is supposed to hate ice cream, or B, that somebody forgot that Ross is supposed to hate ice cream! Number 2. Joey's fridge door is constantly changing. Here's a fun game you can play when you've nothing to do with your life and are contemplating suicide on a daily basis. Watch Friends from start to finish all over again. Joey's fridge has, of course, provided fans with all kinds of amusing plot lines over the span of the series. There's even an episode named after it. But the next time that you watch an episode, take a look at the direction that Joey's fridge door opens from, and you'll begin to notice that between episodes, this randomly changes without rhyme or reason. Is Joey getting new fridges all the time? Does Chandler take the hinges off at night hoping to prank Joey, only for Joey to never notice that he's doing it? Or is Ross using the fridge doors to build a spaceship to return to his people? Who knows? And number 1, Rachel and Monica get replaced. Okay guys, gather round, this is actually getting a bit freaky now. Like, I know we've been joking about Ross before, but there are cases in the show where Rachel and Monica have actually been replaced Invasion of the Body Snatchers style, and no one can explain why. These 2 women are the closest to the air quotes man known as Ross, so are most likely to be targeted by his otherworldly powers. In the one with the mugging, we can see Rachel being replaced with a brunette for a brief moment. Now, some may say that this is an understudy, but can we really be sure? Monica too also fell for this human switcheroo in this coffee shop scene. One has to wonder what awful and strange things Ross did to them in this time, all to the sound of audience laughter. And that's our list. Got any more sweet Ross moments that I missed? Well, let me know about them in the comments below. And if you want to come be the Ross to my Ross, then you can do so on Twitter at RetroJ with a 0. As always, if you enjoyed the video, then like, share, and subscribe for more. I've been Jules for WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon.